Here we are, 10 cartridges, 10 videos, and $1,000 later, and we've completed this Atari 50th Anniversary Atari XP Collector's Series. Now, while this series overall was something that I'm very glad that I purchased and am generally happy with, not everything was a shining beacon of awesomeness. There were some things that were just dead-on misses. In this video, what I'm going to do is recap these 10 boxes, these 10 cartridges, and their contents, and I have 8 awards to give, some best of, some worst of, plus I'm going to run down my dream lineup of what 10 cartridges I would have chosen for this series. So while I pull these 10 boxes off the shelf, take them over to the table, and prepare for the awards ceremonies, you watch this quick message from our sponsor, and we'll get started right after this. This video brought to you in part by Tommy and the Order of Cosmic Champions. This exciting and heartwarming coming-of-age Gen X novel is available now. Check the link for more info. Hey there, welcome back to Gen X Grown Up. I am John and I am a Gen X Grown Up. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. And if you did, thank you for clicking on the previous 10 plus videos as we covered these Atari XP cartridges that were released for the 50th anniversary of Atari last year. Now, we just opened the last one a couple of weeks ago, and in that video I said, you know, there are some things I like and don't like about this series, and perhaps I would do a follow-up where I looked at all those things, and this is that series. I have 8 different categories in which I will give an award. 5 of those categories are best of, 3 of those categories are worst of, and you'll see what I mean as we progress. And at the end of the video, I'm going to give you my dream lineup of 10 titles. Were I to re-release these, what would I include in the 10? And I'll explain why I made my choices too. But hey, let's get started with the first category, and that is Best Box. Now, I know you might chuckle at a category called Best Box, but all these boxes were not created equal. In fact, I found some of them to be downright ugly. These last 3, where the artwork was quite dark on the black box, I just felt like it just didn't pop. It just kind of felt, I don't know, just felt muddy. Especially Centipede was maybe the worst offender. It just looks muddy. See what I mean there? So that leaves this 7. I'm then going to look at which ones didn't have glaring errors. And honestly, a majority of these did have problems, either in who they attributed as the author or, I don't know, just other kinds of errors that appeared inside of the box, spelling errors, attribution errors, things like that. And that brings us down to just 2, Adventure and Yar's Revenge. So of those 2, look, I love both these games. I just think the Adventure pops a little more, so I'm going to award Best Box to Adventure. Now, if you have been watching right along with me through this series, you know that as nice as these are, quite a few mistakes were made too. So our second award is going to be a worst of, and it's the worst mistake. Now, of the mistakes that I saw in this series, none of them were deal breakers for me, but many of them made me really scratch my head and go, man, with a little research, you could have fixed this. One that jumped out a lot was misattribution of the developer of the Atari cartridge. We were off to a great start when Warren Robinette was credited as the creator of Adventure, and I thought, man, this is going to be great, but right away, we had some problems. In the very next title, Missile Command, they credit Dave Thurer as the creator, yes, of the original Missile Command, but what about Rob Fulop, who actually designed the VCS port? Look, it's okay to give credit to the original, but, you know, who's the guy who did the work for this actual cartridge we're playing? You missed out. Similarly with Crystal Castles here, Franz Lanziger is credited as the original developer of the arcade machine, but it was Peter Naday who did the VCS port. He didn't get any love here at all. You'd think Atari would have learned after all these years, credit your developers, even after the fact. Same song here with Centipede. Look, you're giving credit to Ed Logg and Donna Bailey, who are the creators of the arcade machine, the original. Fine, give them credit. But what about Douglas McRae and Josh Littlefield, who did the VCS work? Give credit where credit is due. I hate that this was an omission across so many of these. I know, broken record. Again, you're giving credit to Lau Raines and Ed Logg. Yes, they did the arcade machine, but you forgot about Brad Stewart, who did the VCS port. He should also have gotten credit here. I hate these omissions. And not to be left out, Gravatar had the same problem. Look, Rich and Mike are getting credited for the arcade design, but it was Dan Hitchens who designed the VCS cartridge. He did not get credited. All of those could have been caught with a simple Google search, but then there's more that require you to know the game. Haunted House was an offender here. Yes, we are crediting the proper developer. That's not the problem here. But as was pointed out by one of my eagle-eyed viewers, in the decoration inside the cartridge, they used adventure bats, not the bat as featured in Haunted House. I know this was a clip art copy-paste. They just reused something. But if you know the game well, you know, that's not the right bat. It's just you're not paying the right respect to the game by not even understanding what the sprites look like. So that's another one that kind of bothered me. But finally, the one that bothered me the most was this problem in Asteroids. The back of each box had a brief description and a screenshot, but Asteroids was not a screenshot for the game inside this box. Now, it looks asteroidsy at a glance, but if anyone who knew Asteroids at all was doing the layout here, they would go, no. In fact, that looks like Space Rocks, which is a modern homebrew of Asteroids. A great homebrew, by the way, but it's not the game in this box. So this, to me, is the most egregious mistake, and this is going to win my award for worst mistake of this series. Now for this next award, I'm going to look at some of the goodies that were packed in with these special collector's releases. And in this case, we want to look at the patch. These are really nice sew-on patches. Some were better than others though, so let's take a look and determine the Best Patch Award. This is the first time I have had all these patches out to look at them together as a collection to kind of see how they vary and how they're similar. They're all shield shaped and I like all of them. I think they're really great. And look, I'm not going to pick a worst of because frankly, I like them all. Some have less detail, but if it was a set, I would buy all 10. I wouldn't go, I'll skip one or the other. So it's really a matter of narrowing down the one that is most interesting to me. I think Asteroids is a little simplistic. I mean, you have a misspelling centipede, so yeah. Haunted House is also quite simplistic, though I do like the eyes in the Batwing. I think that's creative. You know, as simple as we have the dragon, you have the warrior, you have the rocket ship, you know, and now I'm kind of down to these four, which I like them all. Look, Crystal Castles is just Bentley Bear. Nothing wrong with Bentley Bear. There's some extra flourish with the purple there. I like that. But there are others I like more. Super Breakout is just the guy. The extra shield is here. So now I'm down to just these two. Now this is really tough. As much as I love Yar's Revenge, as much as I like the design of the Yar, I think the creativity of Missile Command is really cool. Look, they took the artwork from the cover of the box. The guy with the orange jumpsuit and the white helmet, his screen, he's working. You know, he's got his control panel here. He's targeting something. I think all in all, that makes this one my winner for Best Patch of this series. Now, springboarding right off of the Best Patch Award, I want to go into another worst of. And in this case, it's worst misspelling. Now, we already did worst mistake. I didn't lump spelling errors into there. And most spelling errors I'll kind of let go if they're trivial, but there were some pretty notable problematic spelling errors in a couple of releases. So this next award goes to worst spelling error. Now, I can guarantee you Centipede is going to sweep this category because it has the only two nominees. First up is inside the box. We already noted that Donna Bailey and Ed Logg were the creators of the arcade game, but more importantly, Donna's name is misspelled. It's D-O-N-A, not two N's. Donna spelled with one N. Just, do you know who worked for you, Atari? Get that right. So there's one misspelling. The other one, though, is here on the patch for Centipede, which is Anthropod Ambassadors. What's an anthropod? It should be arthropod. And look, I'm not reading it wrong. That is clearly an N, A-N-T, anthropod. And look, anthropod might be a thing, but it's not what you're talking about. It's not an arthropod. So this Centipede patch is going to get my award for worst misspelling. Now, while we're on the topic of those extra goodies, we had the patches, of course, but the other notable item were those little pins. Now, some of them were really inspired and some weren't, so let's move along then to our Best Pin Award. Whew, now just like with the patches, this is the first time I've had all 10 of these pins out together to look at them as a complete set. And I think I've said it about 10 or 20 times already. I wish they had these as individuals that I could buy because these look so good. And I hate to take them out of the boxes. I want to keep them together. But before I pick a favorite, let me try to settle an early debate that I had because I thought they started plastic and changed to metal. So let's see, Adventure was the first one. There's a comparable size about Centipede. That was much later. Let me show you what I mean. All right, so the difference in appearance is subtle, but I want you to look at Adventure here on the left, which is, it's lighter, which you can't feel, but it's also like a perfectly black finish there. And then there's this one that's a little more sparkly and it's a bit heavier. And listen when I drop them on the table. Here's the Adventure and here's the Centipede. Now it's a thin metal, but even here I think you can see the difference in the coloration. Now some of that is based on the angle, and maybe I'm just way off base here, but I think these are different materials and they change midway through. Look, that doesn't make them better or worse, it's just of note if you go looking for some yourself, I guess. So let's see if we can't pick a winner amongst these pins. Now I know I just awarded Missile Command because I liked its art, but I don't like how it looks on a pin. I love the Adventure Dragon. I think Asteroids is hyper simplistic, as is Gravitar. Super Breakout is just the guy standing there. Much more creativity to be had in some of these later ones. The same thing with, Centipede is just the Centipede, you know? So that brings me down to these 5. And if I'm being fair, I kind of have to eliminate Adventure because it's just the Dragon. Yars is just the Yar. Crystal Castles, Bentley, you're looking good. I think it's going to come down to one of these, and quite frankly, I just am super partial to this Haunted House pin for several reasons. The creativity of the eyes in the Batwing is great. They use the actual 2600 font here instead of the arcade because there's no arcade logo. They were forced to do that, I guess, but because of those things, I want to award Haunted House Best Pin. Now, I didn't choose to give an award for the worst patch because I kind of thought they were all pretty nice, but not all of those pins were as inspired as one another. So while we just awarded the Best Pin Award, let's do the Worst Pin Award. Now, like I just said, I like all of these. I think some are more inspired than others. Look, Haunted House just won, so it's not going to be my worst, obviously. Missile Command is not the worst. Yar's Revenge is not the worst. I love these big pins. I think those are great. We're going to keep Bentley Bear in there. Super Breakout, it's in the running. Super simplistic. So it's of these 5 now. Yeah, so process of elimination. Yeah, the Asteroids is super simplistic, but I think it just looks good. Warlords, I'm not a huge fan of the Warlords pin, but it's not the worst. I also really like Bentley Bear, so it's tough. That's going to bring me down to these 2. So between these 2, I don't hate any of them, but Gravitar really pops and looks good. The color choices in Super Breakout with that kind of green and orange or whatever it is, kind of muddy. Yeah, I'm going to have to say Super Breakout is going to get my award for Worst Pin. That's not fair. It's my least favorite pin, but the award is called Worst Pin. So Super Breakout, you win. Just a couple more categories here, and this is going to go right to the heart of the matter. Look, they have those new reissued cartridges, and they had this beautiful, amazing, reimagined artwork on them. All of them were pretty notable, but one of them really stood out, so this next award is going to be for Best Cartridge Artwork. Whew, if you were waiting to see something cool, here it is. I have, like the pins, like the patches, up until now, I had not had all of these out of the box at once. Look at how beautiful these are. You could just keep releasing cartridges like this forever, and people would rebuy them to have this amazing artwork and the lit up marquee, which we'll take a look at in a second. But if we're picking a best, just look. Which ones pop for you? Which ones are the most creative? Which ones, I don't even think it's tough. Super simple, super simple, super simple. Yeah, I gotta say that about Adventure and Warlords too. That brings us down to half. Missile Command definitely does some interesting stuff with this kind of half grayed out rocket cloud there, but it's pretty bland otherwise. And I really like the Asteroids, but it doesn't really pop. And it comes down to me to the ones that had the most color and nice use of color. All right, I think it's not, I'd like Super Breakout, but it's not Super Breakout. It comes down to one of these 2, and yeah, I've got to give it to Centipede. That full color process here, and that really scary kind of the forest behind them and the centipedes creeping out of there. Yeah, Centipede has got to get my award for the best cartridge artwork. Now, I really enjoyed the idea of that reimagined artwork printed right on the face of the cartridge, but the thing that put it over the top even further was that illuminated marquee that drew power from the console itself and had an LED that lit it up. Now, they were all pretty awesome, but some of them complemented the cartridge more than others, so this next and last award is going to Best Power-On Experience. Now, rather than run you through a process of elimination with the Best Power-On Experience, I'm going to run through and show you what all 10 of the cartridges look like when you light them up. The reality is, there's none of these I don't like. Even the artwork that was not as inspired, I found to look awesome when they powered on. Now, some of them just had a generic white bulb, which was fine. In general, I think I liked the cartridges that chose a color for the LED that complemented the artwork and the cartridge color. For my money, the three that did this best were Haunted House with that kind of pinkish purplish bulb, Gravatar with that orange bulb that really showcased the orange planet art on the front of the cartridge, and Centipede that had that green bulb that shined from inside the cartridge and seemed to make that vibrant artwork come even more alive. So probably no surprise here. Once again, Centipede is going to have to get my award. It got Best Cartridge Art, and with that green bulb, it also gets my award for Best Power On Experience. That's going to do it for my best of and worst of awards for this Atari XP series. And I promise you at the end of the video, I would tell you which titles I would replace to make this my dream lineup of 10 iconic Atari 2600 games. Now, I will tell you that in my selection, this is not a pie-in-the-sky selection. Like, obviously, I would pick things like Activision titles and E.T. and Raiders of the Lost Ark and stuff that we simply aren't going to see getting the license for a re-release like this. So instead, what I did is I focused on Atari native games published by Atari that I think would have made better selections in some cases than the ones they chose. So in that vein, I have opted to make 4 substitutions. I keep the first 3, Adventure, Missile Command, and Warlords, but then I would replace Super Breakout with Video Olympics. So first of all, Video Olympics has Pong included, which I think is an iconic game that people bought the 2600 for. Plus, it has 50 or 60 different games, you know, foosball and table tennis and stuff like that. There's just so much more to enjoy in Video Olympics. Not to denigrate Super Breakout, but I think this would have been a better paddle game to choose. The next one, Crystal Castles, I would have replaced with Battlezone. Now, Atari doesn't currently have the license for Battlezone, but they could have reacquired it like they've been reacquiring so many things lately. I think Battlezone would have been a better choice here, and I know Crystal Castles has its fans, but Battlezone just would have been a better choice for me. Now I'm going to leave Haunted House and Yar's Revenge alone. I'm then going to replace Centipede. This was a tough call with Combat. Now, as much as I enjoy Centipede, and it's a great port, Combat just feels more emblematic of the VCS itself, and I think that would have been a better choice. I'm finally going to leave Asteroids alone, and I want to replace Gravatar with Berserk. Now, of course, we know this is a Stern title, but Atari just acquired the rights to Berserk. It probably was an overlap where they couldn't pick it, or they would have, because they didn't yet have the rights when they created these titles. But if they redid it today, Berserk is a no-brainer as a favorite on the VCS and something that Atari owns the license for today for redistribution. And I think that would have been pretty cool. So as I place these all back on the shelf for display, I will say that I've been very pleased with the series as a whole. Despite the little gaffes that they had and the problems, it was a really fun series to open and collect. More than anything though, I just really have enjoyed sharing the experience with you here on the channel. So let me know what you think of my best of and worst of awards. Would you have chosen different ones for those awards, or did you have other categories you had in mind? Let me know down in the comments. And what did you think of my dream lineup? Now, I could have gone pie in the sky, as I said, but I tried to keep it rational, something that could actually happen. What do you think of that lineup? And if yours is different, let me know what your dream lineup is down in the comments as well. Look, I'm going to throw some links over my shoulder here and here to other XP coverage, including the full playlist. I certainly hope you found something to enjoy in this video though, and I can't wait to talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.